say I really echo the Commissioner Finkelpearl in terms of the social aspect of what we do and how we transform people's lives. I'm very glad he said what he said, because he kind of did my work for me in a way. I want to first of all thank Deirdre, Bill, and the steering committee at CEG for indulging me. I am a bit of a newbie when it comes to the organizing. I asked a lot of questions, and I thank them for their indulgence. Although I'm a member of the CEG steering committee, I'm also here to speak to you as a poet, as a writer, as an editor, as an educator and events curator. I want to speak to you as an independent artist, first and foremost. Moreover, as a Puerto Rican, Cuban, and Latino artist, I believe in the utility of art, the ability of the visual, the auditory, the written, to fundamentally transform the world. Simple as that. The Puerto Rican poet Clemente Soto Vélez once said that to be a poet is to master the exterior order by mastering one's interior order. Another way to say that is, to know the world, you must first know yourself. In another way, you must become the change you want to see. This is the essence of cultural equity, to give all artists of all representations the opportunity to do no less than change the world. To bequeath this awareness of self through the arts is to assume the mantle of the cultural worker. A poet, and by poet I mean in the sort of Baldwin-esque sense of it, poet as a creator, right? A poet puts the flesh back into the syntax of written language, connects one witness or many to the rest of humanity itself. And in communities of color, fundamental disconnections from our humanity have resulted in continued cycles of violence, poverty, and displacement through both internal and external pathologies. Reconnecting ourselves to our cultural traditions, to our literature, to our visual art, and our theater allows us to express doubtlessly our hopes, our fears, our grievances, our desires to change the society and ourselves. Amen. The cultural worker, the poet, brings communities and artists of color to the realization that theirs too is an American story. Complicated, necessary, multilingual, and multicultural. A realization like this gives us the strength to strengthen and straighten our own backs. A Puerto Rican storyteller and librarian named Pura Belpré brought tales of Puerto Rico to children in the Barrio and the South Bronx. This is a tradition continued by the independent storyteller and historian Bobby Gonzalez, from whom I learned about Pura Belpré. The New Rican Poets Cafe on the Lower East Side is a literary institution and multicultural theater space founded with the intent to bring pluralism and multilingual expression to theater and poetry. It started life in a bar on the Lower East Side. 30 years after its founding, the project that I co-founded and directed for 10 years, Acentos, began operating out of a bar in the South Bronx. A stone's throw, by the way, from the Mott Haven branch of the public library, where Pura Belpré often held court. Acentos was a reading series, a workshop, and a literary journal still operating today that brought Latino writers from across the nation to the Bronx, and it became a respected catalyst for the current renaissance in Latino literature nationally, despite the various attempts to squash it. And not far from El Puente, the legendary community service and educational organization founded by Luis Garden Acosta and Francis Lucerna in Los Sures, Brooklyn, there is now a thriving School of the Poetic Arts, run by two Boricua poets, named Johnny Rosado and Juan Papo Santiago. The school's mission is to bring affordable, world-class instruction in writing and performance to artists of all ages and skill levels, in direct response, I think, to Juno Diaz's recent critique of MFA creative writing programs. You cannot write the full history of American literature without acknowledging the contributions of Puerto Rican writers and thinkers in New York. The sustained efforts of independent artists, curators, educators, and cultural workers of color in New York City has altered the national arts landscape. And this must be defended. Imagine, if you will, a world in which Langston Hughes was forced to move out of Harlem. This is what we're facing. A brain drain of artists. They're leaving New York. There won't be any arts to defend if we don't make this sustainable for them, for us. These movements were supported by community-run, community-led institutions, from the Umber Writers to the Harlem Writers Guild, the Tribes Gallery to Taller Boricua, Aguebana Bookstore to La Casa Azul. We have forced new conversations to take place within the centers of American art, and those of us who continue to teach these traditions have largely done so on a shoestring.
Yes.
If I had to tell you what cultural equity should look like, if it was a person I could speak to, I would say it should, without question, be supporting organizations and programs such as the ones I've listed. I can think of 3 practical ways. Number 1, by providing real stipends and wages to the artists who run them, on time and with a minimum of red tape.
Amen. You said with a minimum of red tape.
Okay, I'm being real.
Special notes.
Everyone wants to get paid on time. By providing real wages and stipends to the artists who run them on time with a minimum of red tape as any arts professional would expect to be treated. Number 2, by respecting the contributions of artists, often lifelong and ceaseless, regardless of that artist's seating within academia or the traditional channels of funding. I don't know of many of our elders in the New Eureka movement who got MFAs.
That's right.
But they taught us a lot, and they continue to teach us a lot.
Amen.
And they're here with us. They're not
Amen.
museum pieces. They're here. Right? Our artists are here. Our elders are here. We need to respect them. Number 3, by continuing to give space and support to community institutions to document their histories in written form. The quickest way to erase a people is to tear up its literature.
Amen.
Right.
And throw it in the trash. So we must prevent that.
Oh, he's speaking some truth.
We have the chance to create
Beautiful job,
and
Rich.
teach and sustain art with our faces visible within it. We must continue to support artists inside their communities, continue their traditions, and continue to plant the seeds of self-worth and self-awareness in our kids, who are, after all, killing each other, right? And who are being killed by the thousands. We can change communities this way. We can change ourselves this way. But all great change must first be imagined. Let the policies, our policies here in the city, support imagination for all. Thank you very much.
Amen.